Good morning.
Good morning.
There you go. There's the audio. So we'll begin with a brief dalliance into the material Mayak stuff. The election is over, thank God. And we have a cartoon character for a president. Instead of a weak, do nothing, ineffectual cliche, we have a power hungry narcissist. I don't think either one of these people are going to do a bad job in the sense of World War III. I think it's surreal, and I'm enjoying that. I felt when I was young that if the World War III thing ever happened, nuclear apocalypse, I was going to drop three tabs ass and go up a hilltop and watch it. However, as Yeshua the Christ said, render unto Caesar what is Caesar's, render unto God what is God's. He said this in response to a question. As him and a handful of followers were traveling through a town, and they were made aware that because they were collecting donations, they had to pay some taxes. And somebody provoked Yeshua with this question: what should we do? They're looking for rebellion. They're looking for a leader to be able to say, you know what? No, fuck them. Let's go fight. That's what the answer that they're looking for. They're trying to bait him into this. And he's, of course, illuminated, enlightened, so that's not going to happen. And he says, whose face on that coin? Caesar's face. So render unto Caesar what is Caesar's, render unto God what is God's. A beautiful statement to remind us he's not taking a side. He's completely separating the material from the spiritual and not losing sight of that and encouraging us to do the same. It's easy to get caught up into these machinations of the material phenomena, but it comes and goes. Nothing bad's going to happen because virtually nothing good's going to happen. It's going to stay the exact same bullshit shit show that it always has been. I'm not elated. I'm not disappointed. This is what it is. And I don't really care. I'm just enjoying the show, the bizarre circus of it. I used to say, I don't know if it was Oscar Wilde. I've quoted it often. I tried to look it up and I actually couldn't find the person that said it, that humanity, I love its people, I can't stand. That's the same. That's the saying. And I reversed that. For me, it's become people I like, not love. People I like, humanity I can't stand. People, when I meet them individually, I like them. I see them and I get along with them and I see who they really are. And most people are good people. They're trying to be. But as a collection, as a massive consciousness, they're defective. Put three or four of them in a room at one time and it turns into a nightmare. So again, render to Caesar what is Caesar's, render to God what is God's. Keep separation between your material phenomena and ambitions and your spiritual ones, because they don't mix. They don't mix. Now, this topic, the portal, I plan on talking about this for few weeks in a row because I love it, because it allows me the chance to discuss the spiritual phenomena as well as the material phenomena in ways that I just truly enjoy. I mean, I just kind of get off on it. We live in a four-dimensional reality, three spatial in one time. Or should I say, we perceive a four-dimensional reality, three spatial in one time. Spatial, forward and back, up and down, side to side. That's it. If there is a fourth spatial dimension, we don't know it. Time dimension, and for an eternal present. But we're aware that there is a past and a future dimension as well. So we only perceive one, an eternal present. But we're aware that there are two others. So right away, we get six dimensions now, three spatial, three time. What I enjoyed in many levels with the Interstellar movie by Christopher Nolan is that he absolutely does a phenomenal job at exploring the concept of time, and that, again, they can all be perceived at once if you know how to do it. I subscribe to that. I don't think there's any restrictions. Hold on, let me open the door. That's that noise that I'm not hear. That's the cat trying to get in his door. Push the door open. You just want attention. What are you, these Donald Trump kitties? Let's line that up. So quantum physics has established we live in an 11-dimensional reality, that there are 11 dimensions. We experience 4. We perceive 4. And again, if you ask them what they are, they say, we don't know. We can't tell you. We have no understanding of what they can be. We just know they exist mathematically. They must. The only way our dimensional reality can possibly be framed together and adhere to itself is if these other ones exist as well. What they say is that they're curled up real tight, so tight that we don't perceive them, but they're all around us. That are what we're perceiving are unfurled dimensions of reality. They're simply uncoiled. So, and then again, what they're saying is they exist all around us. They're just curled up so tight that we don't perceive them. Can we perceive different dimensions of reality? Clearly, psychotropics, psychedelics, those of us who are on the bus, so to speak, that have experimented and explored with these psychonautic devices. I'm a psychonaut. I didn't just take psychedelics for fun. I did enjoy them, always. I never had one bad experience with them, and I've done many in the triple digits. I don't advocate people using them to just have a good time. There is meaning, purpose, and benefits to altered perceptions and consciousness. The intention is important. The people that I saw that had bad trips were very simple-minded people that could not handle the multidimensional perceptions. It was overwhelming for them. There's a very consistent theme in the people that I saw with bad trips, and I saw many of them. They were basically, sorry to say it, kind of stupid, kind of shallow. They weren't very forward-thinking and very expansive. Their conscience was very limited, so they could not handle the amount of data and perception that was coming in through the psychedelic experience. The way we consider this is that psychedelics, psychotropics, provide an access, a portal, a gateway to these other dimensions. What you perceive in the psychedelic experience, conventional science people will conclude that it's a fabrication, a manifestation within your own mind. It's not real. But when you take them and you're on it and you're doing it, you're like, and you're rational, completely rational. I always was. Like, that's real. Reality is what you perceive it to be in many ways, very subjective, but there is an objective reality. And the reason the psychedelic revolution occurred in the 60s was because as many people turned on through it, they realized that there was this layered reality all around them all the time that they never perceived before. And LSD and others and other psychotropics allowed them to perceive them and access them. Speaking of politics, I mean, I think that every president seems weird that I think it's very good that we need to take a test to get a driver's license because that's a very dangerous thing. We should learn. We got to take a written test and a practical test. And yet you don't need to take a test to get married, have children, or vote. Anyone can do it. Anyone. Oh my God, that's way more lethal and responsible than driving a freaking car. Not everyone should be able to just have a child and get married. You should just be able to like go into some place and say, oh, here you go, I'm going to get married. No, you should go through a series of tests, a series of qualifications to show that you know what you're doing. But everybody has a right. I won't go on about it. It's tempting. And same thing. I think that if our politicians were all forced before inauguration, upon being voted in, to drop some kind of psychotropic and spend some time perceiving reality as it truly is, it would completely change. Now, many of them would lose their shit, and that's great. We get rid of them. Then the herd. The other ones would be like tuned in. They would definitely get a whole new perception. Say, oh my God, I was full of shit yesterday. Now I see. Again, these paradigm shifts as we have access to perceive other dimensions. Theoretically, in some ways, the internet does this. We went from having a very small world to being able to perceive a very large world. Again, it's far too subjective, though. I mean, what I get on my YouTube feed is just stuff I've happened to click on. Sometimes I don't want to click on them because I'm like, I know when I click on that, which I'm mildly interested in, I'm going to get hammered by these and nothing else. There's this whole world out there. And when I look at, say, for example, my son Brandon's YouTube feed, it's kind of like when we were sharing Netflix. He had his own account and I had mine. And our playlist and everything that was fed into the algorithm was completely different. Like I didn't even know there were movies out there that like he was watching. And he didn't even know mine were out there. Now, personally, I think most of his were shit. He's a young man. And he was like, wow, he thought a lot of stuff mine was cool. I was like, yeah, take a look at my playlist and stuff that I've watched. And again, the bizarre thing is that what I saw in his recommendations and in his watch list were things that I didn't even know existed. Things I didn't even know people were making. And much of it was complete shit. And I don't blame him. I'm not judging him. He's simply wanting to watch things that are very shallow and easygoing. He's got a very pressured job as a firefighter. Now, anyway, again, this very subjective reality. Certainly, in many ways, internet has given us access to a wider spectrum of reality to perceive more. Let's not go down that rabbit hole because that rabbit hole is a dead end. It just abruptly ends into a toilet bowl, I think. With conscious work, effort, we can access other dimensions of reality that add layers to our perceptions. It can help us expand and grow. The portal is just that. As I've often mentioned, there are many names for the dimension between life and death, between the subtle, ethereal dimension that is still part of the Mayic material phenomena, not the divine, truly spiritual realm, where ghosts and spirits and consciousness and ideas and things of this exist is still part of the material phenomena, just the subtle dimension. Subtle in the sense that you have a physical body and you have a subtle body, your chakras and energy. Both are part of the material phenomena. One subtle and one solid, simply different levels. The spirit realm, ghost realms, etc., are still part of the material phenomena. It's just less dense, less matter, less confined. This is where, as we depart from the four-dimensional reality we perceive naturally, we begin to perceive other layers of it. My time within the portal, where I was completely conscious the entire time while my body was in a coma and unconscious. I had no idea what was going on Earth. Didn't know, didn't care. I was aware things were going on. I was aware that my body was present there, but I just totally did not care and wasn't perceiving it. And again, as an example, the dimension of reality. In that dimension, I had no spatial dimension. It was kind of all at once. I was spot existent, but I was not here nor there. I just was like pure raw consciousness. Time was completely different. It was not, it's hard to describe within this material realm here because to try to give something to relate to. It did exist. I did perceive it, but not like here. In a similar way that out in space, time moves at a different rate for different things based on how they're moving. So I was aware that time was a real factor, but not like here. You could say it was more expansive. It was longer. Just wasn't as restricted. Indeed, my perceptions and what I experienced there were massive amounts of knowledge and information interaction with Akashic agents and intelligences that were happening in an instant. I was only there for 9 days while in the coma. And yet what I experienced and what I perceived was data, information, knowledge, and insights that would have taken decades to be able to gain in the material dimension. I've been reading since I was 4 and I haven't stopped. I read nonstop and I've devoured thousands of books, I think, in my lifetime. I don't even know how many. I just never stop. And that's because I can never get enough. And it takes a lot of work and a lot of time. So I would read sometimes 2, 3 books at a time because there just isn't enough time. I want to have all the knowledge now. Instant upload or download for it. I don't have any patience, don't have any time for it. I want the knowledge and I want it now. I want to know everything. Within the portal dimension where I was, I had access to far more quickly. There were things I could not perceive and things that I couldn't normally. And in a similar way, returning to the earth plane, material level realm of reality, I retained many of those perceptions, kind of like a flashback with LSD, but I never perceived flashbacks as I'd heard about, like you're gonna like suddenly be back in on an acid trip. I heard about that and I had people tell me that they experienced it. I was kind of like jealous, kind of like, wow, so you didn't like you got a whole other trip you didn't get to pay for or anything. That's awesome. Of course, they're like losing their mind. They're like, it's scary. I'm like, that's not scary. I'm jealous. I want that. How can I get? And for me, flashback became a term that really for me was just like, okay, I perceive things differently now. I just don't see things the same way. I can see things through the lenses of the psychedelic perceptions. Trails, for example, from a moving object are present all the time. You do a freeze frame or time lapse photography on something, you will see a moving object has trails. That's not induced by or caused by a psychedelic drug. That's because your wiring within your framework, within your mental framework changes because of the drug and you can perceive them. And again, when you're on that drug and you're seeing them, it doesn't feel strange or weird. That just makes sense. My last experience with LSD, I barely felt anything. And it was good stuff. It wasn't, had nothing to do with that. And I was an adult. It wasn't too long ago. It wasn't yesterday, but I was definitely, had been away from drugs for many years. And I was surprised that it really didn't have much of an effect on me. And I could see and sense then and perceive by looking back that it was because I was already in a more, I hate to say it sound egocentric, but a more elevated state of consciousness. I was more perceptive and aware already from all the times I'd done it and all the work I'd done spiritually and mystically that I already perceived these layers of reality. It wasn't a new place to me. So I wasn't having a big paradigm shift. It was more subtle. The point is that we can access and experience the portal dimensions at any time if we just do the work. We don't have to die. I often kind of dryly humorize about that and saying that you don't have to die to have a near-death experience. Any event in your life that causes an abrupt, profound paradigm shift in your thinking and perception qualifies. Any severe, we all have them. We all have now and then moments in our life. Things that happened that there was a before and after. Again, LSD and psychotropics is that for many people. They were this way before, then they saw something completely different and it changed them and there was an after. I've got too many before and after moments to count in my life, literally too many to count, because I'm a psychonaut, a deliberate seeker of the profound. I'm not afraid of it. I'm driven partly by the fear. I am looking for the thrill. I'm looking for the excitement. I'm looking for the different. I want to know what's on the other side. And of course, you got to be careful what you wish for. Everything comes at a cost. So again, excuse me, some skin on my nose there. The near-death phenomena, the portal dimension, that is more subtle of a reality than the dense material phenomena. Just subtle, just different. Still part of it, but just subtle and different. In many ways, way better, but you ain't going to get a milkshake there. You're not going to be able to play frisbee or play baseball or do anything like that because there's no physical sense in the same way there as there is here. No, I wouldn't want to stay there forever. I'd probably miss the milkshake, having a beer and, having some indulgences here and there. But at the same time, so there's some things you lose when you're perceiving that reality, and there's some things you gain. Similarly here, there's things you gain, they have access to, but there's a whole bunch of stuff you lose. It's clarity. Again, we got a cartoon character for a president. I don't think that's very clear, but what are our options? Our options are pretty crappy. There are many tools, devices we can use to perceive adventure and experience these other dimensions of reality. We had class recently and talked about yantras. I'm going to share the screen here. From current slide. Boom. These are fractals. It's hard to define what fractals are as we talk about these dimensions of reality. This fits nicely in. Fractals are the basic constituents of material phenomena. When you go into the patterns of molecular, cellular, atomic structures within nature, you see fractals. They're perfect, symmetrical, in perfect balance and harmony. They just repeat themselves again and again and again, like Fibonacci sequence, like pi 3.14. I'm going to go ahead and read, because fractals is a little bit difficult to quite, I think this does a better job as I consult my dictionary app. Fractal, an irregular geometric structure that cannot be described by classical geometry because magnification of the structure reveals repeated patterns of similarly irregular but progressively smaller dimensions. Fractals are especially apparent in natural forms and phenomena because the geometric properties of the physical world are largely abstract, as with clouds, crystals, tree bark, or the path of lightning. These are the constituents of a material reality. The microcosm that reflects the macrocosm, the above and below. Look at them. These are not artist rendering. This is what they look like. The core constituents of material reality. Physical phenomena that again goes down to the subtle. This top picture on the right is a plant. I'm giving you the different layers. Again, what we see is the fractal geometry is consistent in all of them. Fractals are what make that plant. And yet the plant just reflects fractals. They have the same shapes, repeatedly progressive. We can perceive this conceptually, not literally. I can't look at a leaf and see the fractals. I don't have the kind of vision, but I can be aware that they're there. And that can affect my thinking and my feeling. To be able to perceive and be aware and appreciate the beauty, the poetry, the art that's within them. And be mystified by the fact that I enjoy that I can't perceive them with my physical senses and knowing that, but yet know that they're there. It gives me an inner sense of satisfaction that once again, there are layers of reality that I can't perceive with my normal senses, but they are there. I love the mysterious. Fractals provide us this. They also look like portals, doorways, passageways into another dimension. In many ways, they are. The subatomic, the ethereal, and again, the subtle energies. And then we go. What is with this thing? There we go. Oh no. Now I'm all screwed up. I'm lazy. I don't use I'm gonna ask one I want right now. Actually, let's go to this one. Wormholes. Wormholes are portals themselves. Space is on a curvature. It's bent. And wormholes are, again, the portals, the doorways that can bend space, as we see in this one image right here up on the right, that allows us to access. By going through a wormhole, you can traverse through light years of space in a moment, get to the other side. I can't think of a better word for them other than portal, gateways, wormholes, a little crude. They're shortcuts. The psychotropic, again, LSD, ayahuasca, peyote, psilocybin. They work in a similar way. The collective consciousness within the psychedelic community, the consistency is uncanny. So many people reporting the similar to exact same visions, perceptions in these wormhole, geometric, fractal perceptions. Too similar to be coincidence, too many to be coincidence. And we go back in time to prehistory of ancients that built pyramids in Egypt and in South America. Places like Gopeki Tepi in Turkey, Stonehenge. Get my notes here. I need it. Chaco Canyon in New Mexico is absolutely mind-blowing. And Serpent Mound in Ohio. All over the world, these sacred sites that are constructed mathematically precise to mark, honor, celebrate, gauge, measure astronomical events that take place over hundreds of years. So these sites weren't built in overnight. They were developed over dozens or hundreds of years, many of them. And now we're finding out that most of them were built on top of and to mirror and match ones that were existing before. So they're not just 3 or 4 or 5,000 years old. Many of them are 12,000 years old. The ancients were trying to preserve what they had, the formulas, the systems, the math, sacredness, and geometry of them by duplicating them. Again, it becomes impossible to deny. As I've been watching Graham Hancock's Ancient Apocalypse, fascinating theories. And I mean, it's just undeniable, the evidence that he reveals. Again, we see this consistent theme of these dimensions that we can all have access to. And the fact that these ancient sites, the Mayan pyramids, Gopeki Tepi, I'm not from sure if I'm saying it right. They're now finding evidence, indeed, that the priests and engineers that designed and executed this were using psychotropics. Shamans and priests using psychotropics like ayahuasca. They're finding direct evidence that these things were built with these insights. The mathematics. Now, I don't know about you, but I mean, if you can do a whole bunch of mathematics on ayahuasca, you're going to be pretty smart. I mean, I might be able to figure a lot of mysterious things out, but I wouldn't be able to do good math. I can't do it sober either. So again, we see this theme. I'm drawing these two things together. Science and parascience, normal and paranormal. As these priests and shamans and mystics accessed ethereal, subtle dimensions of reality by using psychotropics as a gateway, as a portal, as a wormhole. Again, one of the most consistent reports in DMT, which is the core ingredient within ayahuasca, is fractals, sacred geometry, perceiving and traveling through portal dimensions and interacting with other intelligence. So many DMT reports. We're not talking about a bunch of guys hanging out in their garage. From a scientist, psychiatrist, psychologist that engineered these very complex research, and I got DMT, the Spirit Molecule book. I can't think of the guy's name, showing that one after another, what these people are reporting during their DMT trip is consistent. They're seeing similar things, they're having different same messages. Some differences, but there's enough consistency in the themes and perceptions and who they're talking to in these other side realities that are too consistent to deny or say coincidence. So what we have here is multiple ways to access, perceive these other dimensions. And again, let me go to the next slide even. How is this any different? This is what yantras are. They're tools and devices, like a psychotropic is, to access ethereal, subtle dimensions of reality, to break free from the confined, material, physical dimension, and be able to perceive and interact with a subtle dimension. Geometry is essential. It's one of the first crossovers you go from the dense material reality to the ethereal subtle reality. You're seeing, again, the foundations, the core, the fractals of material reality are built upon the geometry. Subatomic energy in reality is not just blobulous, it's not just globules of energy. It is mathematical, it is symmetrical, it is geometrical. Sacred geometry is kind of a misnomer. It just is what it is. Sacred is just a word that we use to connotate that it's significant, it's important, that it's significant. Indeed, the word sacred implies that it is something spiritual, possibly even divine. Technically, no, it's not. It's a part of the material phenomena. But again, it works as a portal, a doorway to access the spiritual, the subtle reality. To traverse, to travel from dense physical reality to the spirit realm, you've got to go through these dimensions, and you use these as doorways and portals. What else do they look like? They scream at you. These are primordial archetypes that exist eternally. They're immune to time and shifting and change. They are eternal. Again, as core constituents, these are the things that never change. And presidents come and go, but the concept stays the same. In the subtle reality and in the finer dimensions, the microcosm, it's eternal. We can access these. I'm not telling you to go out and take some ayahuasca. I'm not telling you not to either. What I'm advising is that, again, as I mentioned, if we have to take a test, two tests, practical and written test to get a driver's license, and this again, what some of the counterculture of the 60s was all about is a lot of the hippies were like, turn on, what was it, turn on and drop out, something like that. And in some ways, they were kind of like saying, everyone should try this. Everyone should experience this shift in consciousness to be able to perceive a wider reality and be able to get off their high horse. See how humble and poetic everything actually is. It's good advice. Again, I'm all for it. I think at some point everyone should take some type of psychotropic because again, it'll either thin the herd for the people that can't handle it or elevate consciousness for the people that can. Either way, I think it's going to be a win. These dimensions exist all around us, all the time. I'm mentioning to you several options, tools, and devices we can use to access them, perceive them. Now we can combine them. Yantras. I don't know where this thing's going. Oh man, I'm done with this. There we go. Yantras, fractals, meditation, breath, astronomy, physics. I use all these devices the same way. My study of physics throughout my life. I'm not a physicist. I'm not a scientist. I suck at math. I can barely do basic arithmetic. Certainly can't do any complex algebra without a calculator. I can barely do basic algebra without a calculator. I can barely do it with a calculator. All knowledge, all experience is our gateway, is our portal to access higher knowledge, wider truth, to perceive more beyond the here and now. I too perceive the time dimension is in a perpetual forward motion, an eternal present that moves forward, never back. But certainly during the pinnacle 4 years of my death experience, where I was far more aware of the portal dimension than I was the material dimension, and the ongoing total 7 years of the intensity of it, and even to this day, with work, with effort, with methods of meditation, concentration, perception, I'm able to perceive and sustain a relationship with these other dimensions. I'm not saying they're better nor worse. I'm simply saying there's more. When we break free of the confinements of a basic four-dimensional reality, we grow, we expand in our minds and hopefully in our heart. So as quantum physics wonders about the other 7 dimensions of reality, 7, I don't know. See, I totally can't even basic the 3 spatial and 3 time. There's 4. Yeah, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Right? Something like that, I don't know. Anyway, I don't need to do math in my dimension. My dimension, I have calculators. Literally, I was a kid, I was like, why do I need to learn math? Like, I got a calculator. Like, I mean, and I do respect and understand the importance and significance of math being able to problem solve, but I just have never really found much use for it. I got a calculator. I can look it up, especially with the internet now. You just type, what is the blah, blah, blah? It'll just come up, boom. Interest rates, whatever you want to know, boom. Google's got it. Google's got it figured out, you know? Within the portal dimensions, all Akashic records, where all knowledge and time is stored. Within the Akashic records, there is no eternal present. It is an eternal past, present, and future. My time there, my perceptions and experience there, was that the future dimension is obscure. It's not set in stone. What's past is done. That's a fact. It is a hard reality. The present is evolving, changing, has potential, but it's also creating a past every instant. But the future that you can perceive and predict with the right tools, with the right perceptions, is changeable. What I refer to in my book as soft realities, hard realities. They're destined to be. You can't change them. They're past, they're present, they're somewhat future. Can't change them. It's going to happen. The next minute, the next hour. Can't stop it. It's going to happen. Soft realities. The ones that you can have with your own will and consciousness have an effect on. The hard destinies and soft destinies. As we expand our perception and awareness of multiple dimensions of reality, we have greater access, greater will, greater influence in our own destinies and reality. Again, the irony in the political arenas that everyone's so bent on being different and unique. Like, I want something. I'm not like everybody else. They're all like everybody else. As they try to be different, now you're being like everybody else by trying to be so different. You're not just being you. You're trying so hard to be different. That's what everyone's doing. Everyone's trying so hard to be different that they're the same. We've got to get in touch with our nature, our personal core, what we are as individuals. We have a soul, which is universal. It is pretty much the same for everybody. It is a core of energy. And yet, simultaneously and paradoxically, it is different for everyone because it is shrouded by, covered by, layered with our personal experiences, thoughts, actions, beliefs, etc. And that makes us as an ego, as a personality. As similar as we all may be in many ways, 2 arms, 2 legs, 2 eyes, etc. We're also different because no 2 snowflakes are exactly alike. What can we do to perceive these interdimensions and access them without actually dying? I don't recommend that method. Let me share with you a moment, a brief part of my book, within the portal, and the chapter of the portal. My life prior to my AD was entirely committed to spiritual knowledge and practice. I also had a healthy and stable material life I enjoyed very much. I just wasn't overly attached to it. I certainly was dedicated to material success, ambitious and hardworking to create material comfort, safety, and opportunity. But I didn't take it for granted and always viewed my material assets as resources to fund and provide my spiritual progress. It takes money to make a pilgrimage to sacred spiritual sites in India and have the time and energy to study and do spiritual path work. This takes a subtle material life, a stable material life, for me anyway. I'm just not evolved enough yet to live the life of a sadhu monk in a cave without a bank account. What I access, what I retain from the portal, was proportionate to my level and status. I've been a spiritualist for several lifetimes, but far from a perfect one. And in each, I either lost my way or at least detoured from the direct path progress. But I had accumulated an extraordinary amount of spiritual knowledge and practical experience in past and current lives. That's what the books of the dead are all about, investing this life in spiritual knowledge and practice to reap what you sow in the next. The major reason my Kundalini event at 25 was so prodigious may have been because of prior life work with it. I seem to have had an entire life of supernatural occurrences. Is this partly due to prior life study and practice? We've all done it. We've all done it. Spent many lifetimes in a row pursuing spiritual truths and have accumulated enough progress of a good starting point from which to progress to the next. We've all lost our way, being detoured, or generally forsook our spirituality and deviated back to the material. We're all on varying points of the spiritual material spectrum. We're all the fool within the tarot deck on his journey from matter to spirit. We each have an opportunity to accept spiritual initiation with the magician of card number 1 and a spiritual downfall when we interact with card 16, the Tower. We go back and forth to the human condition until we get it right and arrive at the trump card, number 22, the World, which doesn't mean matter. The World card represents the end of the major arcana of the deck and is total liberation and illumination. Wherever you are in your fool's journey, go forward, never back, and eventually you will pass the wheel and go directly past death and be given the password from key number 20, judgment, to get the entire world in your hands. That concludes that chapter. I never had set endings as I wrote chapters and writes for my books. They just live and they breathe. And then sometimes I finish them, I'm like, okay, well, that's it. That's where that ends. That was that thought. I love that feeling. Again, I didn't select or choose or plan this tarot reference to conclude that chapter. It came spontaneously, and I went with it. And I chose to share today on this topic because it's relevant, because again, it is a tool, a device that we can use that bridges between the material and the spiritual. I like to have a separate designation. There's a material phenomena we exist in right now. 3 spatial, 1 time material phenomena, Maya. Then there's the spiritual dimension. That's ethereal and subtle. That's mostly of energy and consciousness and thought and awareness, but not dense material and physical reality, where I refer to as the portal. The spiritual dimension, where yes, indeed, ghosts and spirits and less physical living things exist and awarenesses exist within that dimension. Then beyond that is the divine realm. Spiritual realm is not the divine realm. It is not purely physical. And again, same with the physical. It's not purely physical because you can access through thoughts and work and through methods the more ethereal and subtle dimensions. Many people see auras naturally. I don't. I know them. I can perceive them. I'm not an energy healer, but I can perceive them and I can see automatically when I meet people. I can perceive their auras in the sense of what their thoughts and feelings are and how they're built and how they're made, what they're built on. But I don't perceive the actual chakras and the aura. And I've known many people that do. And it's alarming. I mean, they look at you and they see you as a band of colors. They can see it like the way that I can see a hand and anything else in the physical reality, they can see it. And I find that fascinating. They're just tuned in. And again, I perceive things on levels that they don't. So I see thought and emotion very clearly. Past lives, future potentials. This is my sixth sight. Sixth sense, you could say. It's natural. It's not something that I have tried to do, and yet I've also cultivated and protected it. Whatever we want to become, put it this way, you are becoming something every moment, all the time. Are you taking an active role to determine what that is? Are you consciously, willfully participating in your lifestyle to direct what you're becoming? This is the spiritual work. When we get involved and begin the dark night of the soul and begin to do the work, and our perception of reality expand and grow and change and shift. To be aware of the fractals, the microcosm, the macrocosm, to enjoy and celebrate these things, as these ancients did in these ancient sites. Psychotropics, geometry. And again, as I mentioned those two things, and go back to the sacred sites of the ones that I mentioned, Serpent Mound in Ohio, Gopeki Tepi, Chaco Canyon, Stonehenge. What were they trying to tell us? This is, again, as I enjoy the Graham Hancock series, it's frustrating too because I'm like, but you're missing another point. You're once again seeing this almost purely through materialize. Hancock sets apart from other archaeologists and explorers because he's seeing beyond these simple, hard, physical things they're digging up. He's seeing the concepts. You're trying to view it through conceptually. And I can feel as I'm watching it, as he's asking all the time, what are they trying to tell us? What was this for? We know we can figure out where it is, where it started. We're getting there, but we cannot yet have any reasonable answers to what it meant, what they're trying to do. Was it just some random primitive ceremonies and belief systems? To me, it seems obvious, painfully obvious, like literally causes some pain when I see the frustration because I feel the ancients going, God, you guys are so dense and stupid. How can you not see what they built out of stones and worked so hard to do instead of building out of wood or other things, which preserve and make it last, knowing that apocalyptic underworld things would come again and again and again, trying to build things that could survive that, to preserve the knowledge and truth. There's something bigger going on. There's something deeper. There's other dimensions of reality, not just the one you perceive. They left us more than clues. They left us the formula, the architecture, the design, the mathematics involved with them. It's encoded. It is a code. They are the passwords to be able to understand and perceive and access the other dimensions, to get beyond ourselves. Indeed, part of what these ancient sites are showing us is a warning. Be careful, you dumb, ignorant slobs. Be careful because we're building these to remind you that there was a time when we did the same thing, we destroyed ourselves. We had to reinvent. And what's coded in these temples and in these sacred sites is the history of self-destruction. So one part is a warning. They're trying to say, don't do what we did. And by the way, our ancients tried to remind us too. We ignored it. They left us these temples and these sites. Now we're going to rebuild them on top of them for you. And you're probably going to miss it and fuck it up too, like we did. And they did. It's been going on again and again and again. The prehistory. You can't stop ice ages. You can't stop the global warming kind of phenomena. The world does come to an end eventually. It's not tomorrow, not even close. What needs to happen, though, is a preservation, a bigger picture, bigger concepts that future generations can rediscover. And that's what these sacred sites are all about, to preserve and remind us, no, we're not alone. And there's a way. And don't get caught in your material, stupid reality and be killing each other and destroying the environment. Because guess what? A giant comet from the sky is probably going to do it anyway. So just learn to get along and learn to elevate your consciousness. And again, as I see in this political system that everybody gets so freaked out, I don't care so much that one of my neighbors or two, some of my neighbors have different political views than I do. I care that that's paramount to them. What scares me is that that's what's so significant to them. They're not seeing beyond that. They got their stickers and their signs and all this. And I'm like, oh my God, render unto Caesar what is Caesar, render unto God what is God's. It's not just a hobby, it's their life. They're consumed by it. Like it's so significant and important instead of something that just comes and goes. And this is what the ancients are telling us with these sacred sites by giving us access to the portal. And as people venture on ayahuasca and other dimensions of reality and contact intelligent beings, aliens, spirit realm, whatever, I don't know. It's a little bit of both, it seems. They travel through wormholes and they contact. And you can do it again and again and again. Many people do. And the message is always the same. When people ask, like, what are these aliens? What are these ETs coming here for? There's the gray and the green aliens, supposedly. The gray ones are, I don't remember which one. I think the gray ones are like the ones that are like doing the anal probes and the dissecting and all that kind of weird, evil shit. The green ones are the ones that are like benevolent and nice and kind of cool. And if this is all true, whether they're under the ocean or whether they're coming from space, again, some of the message is don't do what you're doing. We've been there. We had to come back from all that. The truth is simple, you know, when you see it. It's within your heart, it's within your mind. Everything, every opportunity, every thought, everything you see is an opportunity to expand and go deeper into your thoughts and mind to something more profound. The portal, as I write this book, and that chapter is simply on the portal to explain what it is. That's what I say in the beginning of the chapter. I got to explain what this is. So I'm referring to it. I think it's chapter 8 or chapter 7. And been referring to it. And now it's time to explain to you what it is and how it works. And even that, with this huge book, is only the basic constituents of it. I'm not giving you the whole picture, which is partly what these videos and podcasts and things are for, is to give you the outline, parameter, dimensions of it. It's not just a gateway to the in-between state between life and death. There are countless portals to countless dimensions. That we can access if we put in the time. I like to theorize, as again, quantum physicists explain that there are 11 different dimensions. We only know 4 of them. And I've already suggested, as I did when I was in CERN, talking to physicists, I had this wonderful conversation. I'm kind of like, oh my God, these guys think I'm smart. And I'm not, but I was keeping up. I was kind of proud of that. I was kind of like, I don't want them to find out that I'm a dipshit, don't know what I'm doing. Because I'm having these really fun conversations with these qualified physicists at the Mecca of physics in CERN in Switzerland. And we're talking about those dimensions of reality and string theory and M theory. And I was suggesting that the time dimension is which is one we're perceiving, because again, there is one dimension that you only experience motion back and forth. And in that dimension, the you that exists there has no awareness, is completely ignorant to the concept of side to side or up and down. It's referred to as line land in physics. Say line land, that experience back and forth, and that's it. Another line land is side to side. We experience 3 of them at once. And what quantum physicists are saying is that there are other spatial dimensions. We don't know what they are. Well, what could they be like? Well, we don't know. We can't know. And again, in line land, they have no idea about side to side or up and down. None. But we're like, how can you not know that? How can you just move back and forth? And again, in another dimension, there's a you and I that are there that are saying, how can you just exist in that three-dimensional space? What are you dumb? How do you not perceive these other ones? We're like, well, I don't know. We don't know. And as I had these conversations as a mystic and spiritualist, and I am in the Mecca of physics in Switzerland, and I'm suggesting something, I'm having this kind of signing again. I'm just kind of entertaining myself. I'm just trying to look smart. And I'm throwing out some ideas. I'm saying, so, about the time dimension, I'm saying that, but doesn't that mean that there's actually three time dimensions? Some of those are three spatial ones that we perceive, past, present, and future. And maybe there's another fourth time dimension where they're all happening all at once. We only perceive one. We perceive three spatial dimensions at once, but there are more, and there is a supposedly dimension that we only experience one or two of them. I don't know that I want to be ever perceiving these other dimensions of reality. I'm assuming that sages, enlightened masters, illumined personalities, realized ones, they perceive them. They don't talk about it. They don't need to. They know that we can't handle it. Again, in a similar way, even as a so-called medium with intuition, I don't talk a lot about stuff that I perceive. It's not for people to know. When they're ready, sometimes I get to share these things. Sometimes I never get to. Sometimes I perceive things. I know it's going to happen. I'm like, I can't say anything. It's not my response, not my right. I don't have that authority. I think that's the responsibility of it. So again, there are personalities on this planet that perceive multiple layers of reality, multiple dimensions. I encourage people that I interact with and get to guide and teach and play some role with to contemplate them, meditate with them, and have fun with them. Don't get obsessed and all serious about it, like many people that I met when I was in ceremonial magic and many of these other things that I think are profound. It's just one layer, one level. Again, tarot, I Ching, all of these modalities give you access. The tarot, the I Ching, the tree of life, astrology, they're the building blocks, they're the mathematics, they're the constructs that we can use as devices, like an app on your phone that actually works to perceive and access these other dimensions. I don't see psychic predictions in tarot. I see perceptions and tools that I can use to develop and expand my consciousness and my spirit and be more aware, which is what they're truly about. So these various things, astrology, to me, astrology, astronomy, same thing. Again, tarot, I Ching. I don't see these as psychic devices. I see these as spiritual device to access within the portal dimensions to be able to perceive and benefit from what they teach to us by simply providing access to a wider view of reality. So, you got a question or anything? Is that because I'm being thorough or what? Or are you just taking a lot of notes? I see you writing a lot of stuff.
Both, yes.
Cool. Yeah, I'm going to wrap it up here. And again, I think that it's always hard to distill such wide concepts into a little talk. I'm torn between having tons of notes and things I want to refer to and PowerPoint and all that. But again, I don't want to make it so academic. And I want to just let it breathe on its own. So let my mind go where it goes. There's these consistent themes. And again, in many ways, we're always talking about these things, the different dimensions of reality. I think the portal dimension, the multiple dimensions, are worth having several discussions about. In many ways, it's all we're ever talking about. And again, the central theme is to how to distill, which is a purification. Distillation is a process with which we purify something and remove all the unwanted elements that no longer is necessary. It's an alchemical term. That's where it comes from. To remove and distill out the unwanted properties and leave the core and the essence, what we call in alchemy, the signature of it. All these methods and paths, from alchemy, again, to Taoism, to the multiple paths of yoga, Kundalini, Bhakti, Ashtanga, Hav, all of them. They teach the same things. To be able to distill, refine, purify your consciousness, to remove the elements that they do not serve a purpose, but bind you, to remove those, distill them, purify, to be able to perceive things more accurately. Hope springs eternal. I don't know how, as again, humanity I can't stand anymore, but people I like. I don't know how I wake up day after day still feeling, I don't know, positive and hopeful, and I'm not hopeful of humanity. I could care less. Apocalypse is just fine for me. I find the whole COVID thing very surreal. It's kind of wild, like this is wild. It is terrible and tragic. I don't want to see people in pain, and I hate that part. But at the same time, again, as a overall collective thing, as a humanity that will live on, we will go on and on and on and on. But it's not going to annihilate us. And if it does, we'll come back, as we always have through eternity. It's surreal. It's kind of funny. The bizarre ways that we destroy ourselves. Shameful, but kind of funny too. All we can do as individuals is not participate in it. Live properly, live correctly. Be true to your spirit. Celebrate it and honor it. What I would like to discuss more on within the portal concepts is just that. I love talking about the ancient sacred sites, alien technology. I'm not a big ufologist or whatever else, or conspiratorial, but yeah, I got a lot of thoughts about it, and I've seen my own. I mean, I've definitely seen some very strange things. But I think these phenomena of the material phenomena, the features of it, provoke thought and conversation that eventually lead to and should lead to, bottom line, is things that are beyond us, to cause us to cast our gaze to the heavens instead of to the earth, to be able to see the symmetry and synchronicity and the relation between the above and the below. The earth is vital and important. Okay, another documentary I watched just the other day, Jacques Cousteau. I grew up in the 70s as a child, and this guy was on TV a lot. The Undersea World of Jacques Cousteau, and I loved it as a kid. Now I didn't realize, don't know why I missed this. Why I became a scuba diver was obviously a lot because of this guy's shows. And I didn't realize that until I just watched it the other day. How I missed that. That's what truly must have inspired me to become a scuba diver, because what he was describing was exactly my word for word of why I go diving. Because when I'm there, I'm a visitor in another world. Like being on another planet, I'm a guest. And I've stopped diving almost altogether because I can't participate in the destruction. My first trip to the Caymans and the Caribbean reefs, Cancun, well, my first trip to Cayman was I never saw anything. I mean, I did some great diving, and it was just a constant pop of color and life. And I was like, oh my God, like it is just like a visual orgasm to see. And as I went back a few years ago, and I mentioned in my book, because it was when I was in Washington, it was great to be there and great to be able to dive again. But I was also so shattered by seeing the difference in the reef in just a handful of years. It was night and day different. It went from popping explosion of color to we're just killing it. And that's what happened to Jacques Cousteau's career is they shut his TV show down because he was starting to talk about like, hey, it's not just how fun the sea life is, but oh my God, we're killing the ocean. And this is our source. Without it, we cannot live. Again, the above and below. I cast my eyes to heaven to perceive the above, and I went diving in the ocean to see and perceive the below and see the relation between them. And I don't feel that either one of them in a material reality is more or less important. They're equal. We're destroying it. Yay, we got battery operated cars now. Guess what? It is not going to be the savior of the planet. As I suspect, and as I started to look into it, because I was kind of like, something I got to know about this. Is it really going to make the world a better place? You can't get rid of batteries. You can't dispose of them. So what you're going to replace, what you're going to do is you're going to take away all the smog stuff and you're going to absolutely annihilate through the disposal of batteries because you can't get rid of them. You can't. Once you make them, you can't stop them. We're fucked. There's the Muse song has been playing in my head. We are fucking fucked. I dig that song. I'd like to leave you with a optimistic viewpoint or advice. And I guess if there is one, it's simply that it's okay if it all ends. Again, I'm okay with the nuclear holocaust, zombie apocalypse, pandemics that annihilate all the population like the Black Death and blah, blah, blah. I'm okay with that because I don't want to go through it. I don't want to see people suffer, but we've been through it countless times. Again, sages and masters, they're kind of like, wow, you guys really worry about all this trivial shit? I can't believe I get all worked up on this. This has happened again and again and again. It's been happening for eternity. What are you getting so worked up about? Get over it. Live, die, live again, goes on and on and on. Don't get all freaked out about it. Just keep purifying your conscience and spirit. Try to get closer to God. Can't stop anything else. There is no ending. There is no true beginning. It just goes on and on and on. It is eternal. Have some perspective. Do what you can for your own personal, individual growth and expansion. And when the nuclear holocaust goes down, bring an extra tab for me. I'll meet you up on the hilltop. Gonna wrap it up. So again, I actually would like to continue the portal discussion. I'd like to get a little bit more into the ancient civilizations and some of the concepts there that I'm watching the Graham Hancock, the new couple of episodes that he has. And again, how these tie together. I think they're fascinating subjects. My time in some of these sites, I mean, being in India, it's like being in America is such a new place. When I'm in India, I went to Bhubaneswar and I went on a little pilgrimage outside of the city. And I was looking at temples that were 6,000, 7,000 years old. And I'm like blown away that I'm witnessing and seeing some of those built that old. I mean, it's just mind blowing just to be next to something like that. And it wasn't even part of my tradition. It wasn't spiritual even to me at all. But the fact that things exist, and again, even as when I was younger and it was in Europe and it was in Rome and in Italy, walking along where the Colosseum was, there is, and the Parthenon, And I'm like, there's commuters going to work. I was up early in the morning, and there's commuters going to work, driving past this stuff. I'm like, this is what they see every day on their way to work. What I see is billboards and Targets and McDonald's. And what these people see on their commute to work is a thousands of years old ancient site. That's what they see. They're reminding constantly that life goes on. And do not get all worked up and think that you're so important, because things come and go. And I think that that exposure to history at such a consistent pace and rate, definitely I saw the influence that it has on much of the consciousness within Europe and again in Asia as well. People just have a less hang up about the here and now. They see things more conceptually and more long term. Again, the irony and paradox is that as much as I love India and places with ancient history in them, we still have the majority of the population are very superficial and simple consumers, and that's it. There are parts of the Indian society that are the epitome of superficiality, that are focused and exclusively driven by what it looks like to them and their neighbors. That's all they care about. And it's in every part of the world. The good is there, the bad is there. We've got to think of it as individuals. What do we want? What do I want? I can't stop all that. I can't stop the politics. I can't stop the negativity, the toxicity. I can't stop people eating bats in China and causing a pandemic through the world. I can't stop that. I can't stop global warming. I can simply make a less of a footprint of my own. I'm not getting a battery operated car. I'm not in a position to do it. That's all it is. I don't generate much trash. I'm not I'm not anything. I'm just living a sensible life. So what we can do as individuals to leave less of a footprint in the material realm, not contribute to the negativity and destruction. Maybe you can't change it and improve it, but just try to be less of a contributor to it and develop your own consciousness. We will explore more within the portal, not just the death experience element of it, but the multidimensional, psychedelic even, alien, extraterrestrial. Let's explore them all. Let's have some fun with that for a while. Really gives you perspective. All right. Gonna wrap it up. Gonna close right there. I guess I always try to say something that's very spiritual and divine at the end, which is just Jai Shri Radhe, glory to the essence of divine love. Because beyond all of that is divine love. That's it. That's all there is to attain. Signing off now.
Thank you.
You're welcome. See you soon. Bye.